Hi, so this is part two where we're going through the amended complaint from Blake Lively. The reason why we're doing this is we are trying to understand from behaviors or patterns of behaviors what can happen in toxic relationships. A lot of the time, when we're in toxic relationships, we sometimes have to go to court or we have to look at legal documents to actually try and get away from the toxic relationship. This is quite common, especially if you've been in a relationship where you've been married to somebody or something. And one of the main things that happens when you are a victim of a toxic relationship is that you will feel triggered when you're actually looking at these type of documents. So what we're trying to do is go through these documents as so that you can look for patterns so that then you can use those patterns as an example to then be able to help yourself um, calm your nervous system down and be able to get clear on what's actually happening. And one of the key things that happens when we're reading any type of document, if we're dealing with, a breakup or something with someone that's toxic, is that there's going to be a lot of cognitive dissonance from what they're blaming you for doing. And how do we unpick that so that in our own life, we can use this as a real life example to be able to manage our own lives. So if you haven't watched the previous video, I would advise you to go and watch that first, because it's actually set up the scene of what we think the pattern could be, which is, there's cognitive dissonance around boundaries in particular, and then using partial facts to actually create confusion around boundaries of how you want to be treated and how other people are treated. And we also did touch on that, there could be huge misunderstanding because every organization has a culture, every single family has a culture. So it could be that there's more of a culture of hugs, etc. And I think there was the Hollywood Reporter that actually mentioned that as well. So that's fantastic that they are bringing that up and they did some research into that. So it's something to be aware of, that a lot of this could be down to culture. And so far, we aren't really seeing anything to this point anyway, of real clarity on what the SH allegations are. And then if normally what happens in toxic relationships, they create cognitive dissonance because then you're confused. And in this instance, there seems to be cognitive dissonance around boundaries in particular. Then they're using partial facts and where we're not seeing all the facts, so we're not all clear. And obviously at some point, if they do take it to court, those facts will come out at some point. And that Justin Baldoni is being accused of being a bad person. But really, so far, what we've seen isn't so much on his actions, but actually they're actually talking about his character, his values, who he is. And there is a potential in toxic relationships. People will blame you and shame you on doing things so that they can be in a position of power and control, so that they can be seen as the hero or the savior of everything. So that's where we've got to. So we are on 26. So let's just go back to this document. And honestly, we're going to get through this quite quickly now. So let's get a move on. So there's a lot of focus on the attack on Blake Lively or the perceived attack on her. She obviously is really struggling with how social media is seeing her right now. And that's understandable. Let's face it, that is understandable. Nobody wants to be seen in society as a negative or a bad person. And it must be a really difficult time for her. But I think what she potentially is missing, that people just want her to own up to what she should be accountable for, which is maybe just owning up to the fact that maybe her marketing plan of like marketing her hair care products or alcohol brand, or telling people to, grab your florals and grab your friends, etc., and go out, wasn't really appropriate for the film. And just to take on that feedback and then speak up on that feedback. So I think there could be a potential that there's a real problem in actually taking on feedback where and then apologizing for certain behaviors or just explaining that it wasn't meant in that way. And that might be the problem here. We don't know. So it again, we don't know what the actual evidence is of like social manipulation, etc. And there could be that it is completely organic, and it looks like it's organic. If you talk to the DV community, you will find that they do believe it's organic, that backlash that she experienced. Okay, we're going to look at 30. Now, I think there is a little bit of trying to make sure that we read this as the public, and that she accuses, or she helps us understand, if you like, that we shouldn't believe everything that Justin Baldoni is saying. So it's like maybe we've got it wrong. Maybe we are being manipulated by Justin Baldoni. Obviously, I don't think that is the case, because we're all really like going into detail and really trying to understand it. And it's our own opinion. Like, this is my own opinion. This is what I'm seeing from my experience, from my expertise of, but this is my opinion at the end of the day, and you've got your opinion and what you believe and from everything that you've seen. And it's really about sticking to what is it that you believe at the end of the day. What I have noted is that there's so much focus at this part of the amended complaint around the retaliation of her grievances. So what that means is, if we believe there was a retaliation, that means that retaliation must be for a reason, which is the fact that there was SH. So there's such a focus on the retaliation part of the amended complaint, because if we believe there is a retaliation, that means that the SH claims stand up. But if there is no retaliation, well, then maybe we can question the SH claims also. So far, we don't really know what the actual grievances are. So we don't really, or the SH allegations are, we don't know the details of it. So how do we then know if that retaliation is real as well? So I just wanted to bring that up as well. So now, can you see the level of cognitive dissonance that can happen in our brain? Because one, we don't know, is there SH? And then there's a retaliation being layered on top. So we don't know now, is that even real? Or should we believe that there is retaliation? So hence, that must mean that there's SH. I hope you're seeing that. So there's layers. And in your own life, if you're in a toxic relationship, you'll find there's going to be layers of cognitive dissonance. The more you're around someone that creates confusion and chaos in your life, the more confusion and chaos it brings in your life. So it's really important to take some time out to really work out, why am I feeling confused? What is going on? Where is the confusion? And am I having two beliefs at the same time? Like, they are a good person, but actually they hurt me. I hate them. I love them. If there's those two thoughts that are in conflict, really, it's time to just get away for a period of time and resolve those two thoughts that are in conflict, because otherwise you're going to have more and more cognitive dissonance over time, where you don't really know who you are, what you believe, and what your values are. It gets really to that degree. Okay, so going back to this, so the main focus now towards the rest of the amended complaint is really about the retaliation and then the marketing plan. So again, like I'm saying, is the we don't really know what the SH claims are. If it is that it was a cultural misunderstanding, we need to get clear on that first before we can really look at the retaliation part, because it's got to be done in a step by step manner for our brain to really feel at ease with everything. The other thing I really want, and this is where they're talking about the retaliation part. I wanted to bring this up for you. 37. Sometimes we're going to find that, um, you know, toxic individuals will use a lot of words, and sometimes they're not really saying much. There's no real evidence. There's no real depth, but it sounds great. And what this is a word salad. And it's really important to be aware of word salads, because they will say so many things. And if they keep repeating the same thing over and over again, you'll find that you are being brainwashed. But there's certain words that you're being brainwashed to believe, but there's no real substance underneath it, or you don't know if there is any substance underneath it. So it's really important, if you're around someone that just throws out words that can trigger words, then you want to not get too involved with the words so much, but really look at the core essence of what is it that they're trying to say. So I wanted to bring that up as well. Again, like things like, here, there was something. So using words like this, weaponize a digital army, these are really strong words, and they can be quite triggering. So it's really important to not worry too much about the words when you're engaging with certain people, and to safeguard against the risk of Miss Lively ever revealing the truth about Mr. Baldoni. So again, it's like, using things like truth, I'm speaking the truth, you're lying, those kind of words can be really triggering as well. So just be aware of words and how words can be used to trigger, but actually they're not actually saying anything. So don't worry about what the words are, because obviously this isn't, a toxic person writing this, but we're using it as a way of understanding what happens in toxic relationships. You're going to get accused of things that maybe you haven't done. And again, 44 is really looking at, look at some of these words. Yeah. So these words, I'm not going to say them out for YouTube, but can you see these words would trigger? So, but again, these are just words that are maybe used for that reason, to have trigger words, to create connection with other people, and to feel like this is really bad, but we still don't know what the substance is underneath it. I think the main problem here is that she's seen this as a retaliation campaign, but perhaps she hasn't been able to see where or how she can be accountable, or how this is escalated, because she hasn't just come out and said, look, I'm sorry for, saying this to Kirsty in an interview about your bump. When she was pregnant and Kirsty said, oh, congratulations on your bump, I apologize, or write an email to Kirsty just explaining, like, I was feeling really, sensitive that day, or just anything to just try and throw some water on the fire, if you like, just to calm everything down. I think what people were upset about is the behaviors that they saw themselves on video, or in the way that she was reacting to certain people and the way she was promoting the film. And that's what she needed to target and explain directly. But I think she maybe truly thought that this was a retaliation. Who knows? Like, we don't really know what's going on in her mind. But one thing is clear, is that it appears that she may not have any kind of evidence. So, or the right level of evidence. Because if you think here, she's talking also about untraceable campaigns in writing. So that indicates that she believes this to be true, but she hasn't got any evidence to back that up. So again, in our brain, as we're reading it, we would find that there's cognitive dissonance, like, oh wow, is it true? Is it untraceable, or is it that there isn't anything there? So there's that level of cognitive dissonance all the way through. We're not sure what is actually happening. We've got a lot of questions. So if you're around someone and you're having a meeting, say, and you're coming out of it with more questions than answers, then there could be that you've been in a space or you've been reading something or around someone that is creating cognitive dissonance, or where you feel unsure of yourself. You go in, you feel confident, and you come out feeling unsure or not as good or unclear or like really heavy or really tired, where you feel this heaviness. Could be that there's been some cognitive dissonance. There's two conflicting thoughts going on at the same time. And if you do notice that, it's really important to clear that up before you go in and someone layers on even more cognitive dissonance on top of everything. So, for instance, if you're thinking about the retaliation campaign, we still need to clear up, but what is the retaliation for? That's the key here, because otherwise it's just so they're building more and more cognitive dissonance in our brain if we keep listening to this over and over again. Now, the other thing here is we can also see that she does feel here, the irony of Mr. Baldoni's response to Miss Lively speaking out is that his own publicist and co-defender, Jennifer Abel, expressed her own dislike for Mr. Baldoni, declaring, "I can't stand him. He's so pompous," and predicted that he would seek to blame others if necessary to protect himself. And then at the end, she says here, when this movie flops, he's going to blame every person around him for it. She continued in another message. So I think she wants to take credit. I think Blake Lively wants to take credit that the success of the film was to do with her. She wants that acknowledgement. And we can see that must be the reason why she did the editing. That kind of makes sense, that she would have done the editing, done all of that work, and now she wants that acknowledgement. And that aligns with what has happened in the Forbes interview, where she talks about, going in as one thing and then, trying to get more control, etc., for the roles in different areas. So what that could be seen as, she's going in, she's causing cognitive dissonance around boundaries. Yeah. And she might be then creating some sort of level of confusion, telling people, I can do this better. That's not maybe potentially good enough, or I could do this better. And then having more power and control, and then getting the acknowledgement for that level at the end. Okay, so that is something to be aware of. Again, patterns is so important. It's always important to look for patterns. Now, let's see. The other thing we can see again in 73 is that she talks about the retaliation campaign again, and that it looks like that it's done where it's all hidden and no one will work out that it's been done. So there's a level of, it's really hard. I mean, in today's world, I can't believe that you can do anything online without people actually being able to trace it back. I don't think there is anything that's untraceable these days. You can always trace something back to someone. So in this digital world, everything is to some degree traceable. So I think that kind of trying to give us the illusion that this has happened, but you won't find the evidence of it that again can create cognitive dissonance. Like, it causes confusion for us that, oh my gosh, these people are so powerful that you'll never work out that it is actually going to them. And then this section is really interesting. It says factual allegations, but I'll be honest, is a repeat of some of the stuff that's already been spoken about. But again, there's no real facts that will help us know for sure what is the SH allegations. And one of the things that we really need to look at is this, where she says that Wayfarer failed to adhere to the guild rules and as well as Miss Lively's contract. Well, I don't know for sure. Like, obviously, we don't know. But did she actually sign her contract? That's another question in my mind. Like, we're making assumptions based on this. Did she sign her contract? Because contracts are about creating boundaries and creating, protocols and ensuring the safety of not just herself, but for everybody else around her. Boundaries are so important for everybody involved. And we really need to question in this state, what risk does she put everybody else in by not meeting the intimacy coordinator, if that is true? So we need to investigate that or have that clarified in our own brain to know if that's true. So if we look at this, it says here, so for instance, another way we can see cognitive dissonance is the scene in the script specifically described dancing without dialogue and did not include any intimate contact or kissing. But if we look at this, Lily and Ryle slow dance in the bar, patrons around them drinking and watching sports, completely in their own world. It doesn't say you're not allowed to kiss either. So it's really unclear on what the boundaries are. So that's, again, if you think about it from your brain, that creates cognitive dissonance. So I'm just highlighting as much as possible for you to, when you're in these scenarios, to always look at where are the boundaries not crystal clear, where there could be miscommunication and misunderstanding, and how that impacts your brain. Because boundaries are so important. We need to know where we stand in our relationships and have an understanding of how other people want to be treated and how we want to be treated, so we all feel safe. And when one person says, oh no, I don't need that, it actually creates everybody else to be put at risk, where we're not clear now on what is okay and what isn't okay for you. Okay, so we're going to go to 126 now. I just wanted to bring something up there. Let's see. Okay. The next day, June the 1st, 2023, the producer reached out to Miss Lively again to praise her. So again, we can see this really means a lot for her to be seen as doing well and to be accepted, to be validated, to be seen as that person that's made all the difference, because she's been put in this role of power and control, she's made the difference. So we have to wonder, like, what is the driving factor for whoever it is that you're dealing with in your life? What is driving them? What is the end goal? What is it that they want at the end? Is it attention? Is it validation? Is it power and control? Is it money? What is it that they're really looking for? And so that you can then highlight that in your own life, so you can get clearer on what is the real reason they're doing this, because they will be doing something. Everybody does something for a reason. This is human nature. We're all trying to do something for some reason. It's a driver. What is our driver is really important to know. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're just wanting to get clearer on what is the real driving factor here. So let's move to 132. I wanted to bring that up for you as well. I have to admit, there's a lot of character assassination going on in this complaint. The thing we really need to be aware of is that we have seen the video. We saw how Miss Lively talked about that video where they were doing the slow dance. and how she had said that he had said, "Oh, you smell so good," and then that he was doing this, that, and the other at the same time. But actually, when we've seen the video for ourselves and we've seen and heard what was said and the timing of it, we can see that it wasn't exactly how she had portrayed it. So I think it's really important that we have that in mind, because that is what's causing a lot of cognitive dissonance in our own brain as well. It's like, well, we've seen this and you weren't completely factual in that sense. And now can we believe everything that's written here? So so she appeared. So this is what defendants mock Miss Lively by saying she has raised a series of grievances, and she appears to have spent the past 5 days over analysing, scrutinising every minor infraction and perceived slight. So they concluded that Miss Lively concerns about their behaviour, both to them and Sony directly, but their response was to retroactively rebrand those as concerns as non, and criticise Miss Lively. So we don't know now, what we can believe, but based on past evidence, we can see that this is potentially true, that their response is potentially true. And it seems like she is unable to take feedback on board. And is that where the real problem is? We don't know for sure, but that is something that we can see. Okay, maybe this person actually struggles with taking on feedback and actually seeing what is real and what is maybe like exaggerated in our own mind. Okay, so I wanted to go on to this. I think is really important, where I do believe that they didn't see things in the way that they saw it. Okay. So again, they're getting blamed. So Wayfarer's belated launch of the investigation in 2025 is damning admission of Wayfarer's failure to investigate events that were reported to Wayfarer in 2023. I don't think it does, but because what this is building, I think this is going in favor of Justin Baldoni, because this is actually saying, yeah, we didn't investigate them because we didn't believe, or we believe that there was a little bit of disillusion, that she's maybe exaggerating some of these points, or this isn't real. We don't see it in the same way. So we didn't investigate them. But now we're investigating it because it's going to court, etc. And we want to know what exactly happened. Because I'll be honest, I don't know either. I don't know if you know what exactly was the SH allegations. Is it because they're too huggy? What is it? What is the real problem here? There's no real clarity on what actually happened. And then we're seeing, Jenny Slate's, Sony complaint. I mean, it doesn't make this case look any better. It just shows that they have a way of expressing themselves due to their religion in a certain way. And obviously, we can't be against any type of religion. That would be wrong as well. And I don't think that would go in Miss Lively's favour to actually bring it up in that sense, because I don't know what the laws are around that as well, that we should, and actually, if they want to bring in their religion into their organization as a culture, they can do, as long as the person coming into the business is aware of that as well, that it's a cultural aspect from what I'm understanding. We don't know exactly what happened, but we can understand that there's been a misunderstanding there. And was this used on purpose, intentionally by somebody to misrepresent what really happened so they could get power and control over the movie? That's the big question here. That is the big question. And this doesn't help us answer that question so far. This complaint doesn't. Right. So what I wanted to do, a lot of this is basically going over the same thing over and over again. And let's see. Sorry, I'm just going to my notes. Okay, 174 is something I really wanted to bring up. And I think this kind of shows what I'm trying to say as well. Or it's helping me question, or I'm questioning, what Miss Lively is talking about here is like she was given the go ahead by the marketing plan from Sony, and that it was supposed to be around strength and resilience. But honestly, how is this? How to plan a perfect night out and advising grab your besties, get your tickets and wear your florals, to help this film. It doesn't make sense to me. That isn't anything to do with strength and resilience of Lily. How is that? So I think we're missing some pieces here in Blake Lively's thinking, in terms of, you're saying you followed the marketing plan and you don't understand why you was getting backlash, but where have you looked at Lily's strength and resilience, or where have you spoken about it? And can you understand, looking back, at how this could have created backlash? There's no acknowledgement of that. And that's where the real problem is, because there isn't an acknowledgement of what has happened, what she's done. And instead there's blaming other people and wanting other people to take the backlash for it. So I think that's where the real issue is from people. And if she could just understand that and just come forward and say, look, I'm sorry about this, I think this would potentially all melt away to some degree. If she was really authentically saying that as well. And I'm not 100% sure she's able to do that. That's the problem. Okay. I really don't think she understands that. So let's go to 183. So by the time defendants launched their campaign to bury Miss Lively, Wayfarer knew the details of Miss Lively and others' concerns, the complaints raised. I mean, is that Jenny Slate's concern? I mean, that is not really relevant, or I don't see it anyway in terms of this. In addition, Wayfair's press team knew about the claims by Miss Lively and others. Which others? We need to see what those were. And so far, nothing really is backing this up, unfortunately, for Blake Lively. And I genuinely think she is not understanding what we're seeing. That's the only thing I can see here. So the rest of it is all about the defamation and what she's saying about, Mr. Friedman saying it. And also Mr. Friedman's name is amazing. I love it. He seems amazing as well. But what I wanted to bring up is, it's really hard when there's cognitive dissonance to believe that someone is intentionally manipulating and creating cognitive dissonance, manipulating the truth, or creating an illusion of some sort. And it's easier to believe that it's like a defense mechanism, or there must be something wrong, etc. But we have to understand that there are some people that intentionally manipulate the truth. And this is really difficult if you're in a toxic relationship. But sometimes we have to understand that people intentionally manipulate the truth for power and gain or control, because they see it as an opportunity. And I'm not saying that this is what's happened here. I think more and more come out over time. You can make that decision yourself, what you believe. But what I am saying is that there are some people that don't have the empathy. They're wired up differently in the brain. They aren't able to have understanding and compassion for somebody else. That means they can manipulate the truth to then intentionally create confusion in other people around something like boundaries, etc. And they keep doing it. They keep creating that and keep doing it regardless of the damage it's causing the other person. And they get you to believe that it's because of what you're doing and they're reacting to you. But actually, they're not reacting to you. They're actually intentionally creating confusion around what you're doing on purpose so that they can get into a position of power and control. And it is hard. And sometimes they habitually do it. So they're not even aware that they're doing it because it's become a habit now. But in order for us to create habits, we have to first consciously and in awareness keep doing it over and over again so that it becomes an unconscious habit. It's like driving a car. First, you have to consciously really focus on this and perfect it where you can drive without thinking. So it's really hard for us to understand that. And that is what the cause of cognitive dissonance is in essence, where you don't know what's true, you don't know what to believe, what's true, and you're blaming yourself for not knowing what to believe. That's the worst part. So what we need to question is, what is the evidence? That's the key here, because, I can't let my brain get into cognitive dissonance. We don't need to worry if it's a defense mechanism, if they feel guilt and remorse, because if they did feel guilt and remorse, they would take accountability and then change their behavior. Because look, anyone that has any level of empathy, if you feel bad about hurting somebody else, you didn't intentionally mean to hurt anyone else, that means that you have an understanding that the other person is hurting. And what that will do is allow you to make changes in your own life so you never hurt someone again, because you don't want to. You don't want to hurt someone. But however, there are some people that actually don't see it as a problem in the first place. And that's why they keep doing it. So they don't take accountability and they blame you and put you in a position where you stay in a state of cognitive dissonance. So, and it's so convincing that they believe that you really did behave in a way where you did something bad. So, that you're losing your mind trying to figure out what happened to them. What did I do? How did I do this? And they can even implant false beliefs, and that is scientific. We can create false memories in our own brain. We can implant. So if someone keeps repeating the same thing, you will start to believe it. If someone keeps telling you it's a retaliation, you will automatically assume that maybe there was a SH in the first place. Obviously, I'm not saying that isn't the case here, because we don't know for sure, but it's just something to be aware of. Cognitive dissonance is a real thing, and you need to protect your brain from feeling this, because it just builds on it. Look, ultimately, the key here is we don't want to hate on anyone, because it takes a lot of energy to hate somebody, right? The most important thing is to come from a space of love. See people for who they are, but don't focus on them. Try and get on with your own life and appreciate and have gratitude for having empathy, for being one of the lucky ones that can change, for being one of the lucky ones that can heal, and really feel grateful that you have all the goodness in your life. Feel grateful for your sunrise. Feel grateful for your sunset. Be grateful for all the good things in life as well, so that you've got that balance, that you're seeing some people are out there doing this kind of stuff, but you don't want to be a part of that. You want to see it for what it is, but you don't want to be ingrained in it where you're sucked in by them. Yeah, this is what I'm trying to get across is you don't want to be sucked in by them. You don't want to be using all your energy to fight them. Instead, enjoy your life, enjoy you, be kind to yourself, be loving to yourself, be grateful for yourself, be grateful that you have empathy and you're an empath, and be loving towards yourself so that you can know that you have an amazing life ahead of you. So look, that is what so if you are someone that has experienced trauma, for instance, release your trauma so you can get on with your life, basically. And if that is something that you want to do, please do look in the resources section. You can book a one-to-one with me and we can look at what therapy you need to be able to move forward from your own experience. Sending you so much love. Till next time.